why do these reality TV shows look different? Is it the cameras, the locations, the costumes, or is it just the style of the brand? Perhaps, but this particular show, moving forward, there's just something that differentiates this show from others. The visuals just pops. So what exactly is the difference? Because it's not like other shows don't look good, they do. So what really is the difference? Well, after playing around in the color grade for a while, I think I figured it out. Now, for those of us who are professors and experts in color grading, I'm going to break the look down in the next 2 minutes. But for those who are a bit more of a beginner, just stick around or use the timestamp and skip to the next section when I'm actually going to start breaking this down, going step by step so that you see exactly what I'm doing. When I pulled up this particular image, the first thing I noticed is the waveform. It is spread out, and I recognize this because this is something similar to the way you would grade a commercial. So you can see the contrast is not heavy at the bottom. You can see it on the waveform. It's spread out in the entire image. Compare that with this. You can see it's not like there is no contrast in this image. There is, but a lot of the contrast is in the shadows and midtones. But compare that with our main image, you can see it's spread out. After that, the very next thing is, I think, the obvious one, the saturation, but it's not as saturated as you would think. I mean, look at the vector scope. Look at this one. It's not like it's crazy, but there's definitely some saturation. And then after that, you can see there is some bit of glow in the highlights. I feel this is some form of promise, perhaps a black promise that was added in camera. I want to believe that it was done in camera as opposed to simulating it in post. We have good production design with lots of practicals. So there's a light there, light there, light there, light there, light there. Even the light on her, the back light on her is quite blue. That you can see that light is a bit blue, the side light on her. Now imagine that this top light on her, imagine that this was blue. And imagine that that wall was a different color. So we would already have some form of color contrast already built into the image. So just to re-emphasize the fact that production design really plays a big role, in also defining the look of it. And that is it really in terms of what really makes the look of Young, Famous and African really, really pop. And now without further ado, let's get into breaking this down step by step. If you like this content, please take a moment to subscribe and drop a comment. Thank you. Now, for those who don't know, I'm based in Abuja, and so I'm a bit partial towards the reality shows that were done in Abuja. So I've gone ahead to choose Real Housewives of Abuja and Sadao Sisters. Now, obviously, these are already finished shows, so it's not like we're working with the log files of these shows. Now, first things first, white balance. Looking at this image, it actually looks quite warm. If we look at our parade, yep, the green is definitely higher. So we'll just do a simple temp adjustment. Let's see, just push that just a little bit, nothing too crazy, just somewhere around there. All right, I'll just do it before and after. There you go, just a little bit cooler. Now, the first major thing that I highlighted, it has the contrast characteristics of a commercial, and a commercial's contrast is very spread out. We want to try and stretch this out. We want to basically take what's here and we want to try and pull it aside so that there is more contrast in the shadows, more contrast in the highlights, and then the midtones is kind of like a bit free, if that makes any sense. This is a show that the look is already there, the contrast has already been baked in. What we can do is we can try and compress the information again in order for us to now spread it out. Because if we take this image as it is and I start pulling the contrast, you can see even though this stretching is happening, we're already losing, a lot is already being crushed in the shadows, a lot is already being crushed in the highlights. You can see what's going on her face. So it's not enough for us to just stretch this contrast because the image is not joined together enough for us to spread it out evenly. So now the trick to doing that with an image like this that's already there is let's compress it. So keep an eye on the waveform. I'm just going to go ahead and raise, just come to here. Just going to raise the midtones a bit, not too much, just raise it a bit. Take the highlights and bring that down a bit. Take the left, take the shadows and bring that up a bit. So about there. right there. All right, just to compress it a little bit to allow us to be able to hopefully now stretch out the image much better in the way that we would want. Now I'm going to create two nodes. This one I'm leaving in the middle of this, so I'm going to call this third one spread, because this is what I'm going to use to spread out the contrast again. But this one, I'm going to keep this one in order to preserve our skin tone. So I'm just going to take the spread now and start stretching the contrast out again. All right, just stretching it out again. Just about there. That is looking good. You can see her face is already looking very, very shiny. So just going to come here and to try and preserve her skin, just going to pull down on the highlights right there. I think that's working. So we can come back to our spread. But this time around, I'm not going to touch the contrast anymore. In fact, I feel like I might end up reducing it just a little bit. And now for the bottom, the shadows, I think just, let me try this. Nope, that's too much. So let's go log. I just want to pull these down. So really make the blacks like really black. All right, right around there should be fine. All right, I'll just fine tune this contrast just a little bit more. I'm just going to pack it around there so the image is quite spread out, just the way this one is quite spread out. All right. And that's that for contrast. The next thing that ideally we should be looking at is saturation, but I think we're okay with the saturation. But something I would like to do is this color in the background. I think it can pop out a little bit more. You can see the green here. It's coming out. All right. The green and the blue is coming out. So I think this background should also come out. So for that, just going to come to curves, going to come to hue versus saturation, not this one, hue versus saturation. Just going to take the color, take the eyedropper, and I'm just going to pick here. All right, right there. It has already even shown that that's where. So I'm just going to select that. I'm just going to start boosting that. Let's see what we have. All right, take that down, bring that up. Look at that. Look at that. Again, treat it like a commercial. Treat it. Oh, the same, the same color. I did not plan it, guys. I did not plan it. Treat it like a commercial. Treat it as though this is a product and we're trying to make the color of the product shine. Even though now her lips are also her lips are also shiny, but hey, that's fine. So we can pack that right there. The last bit, which I mentioned, which has to do with the filtration. We obviously, or they obviously did not use a black pro mist when they were filming this. So we're going to have to simulate that by ourselves. Two ways that I like to do that would be, one, let us apply a glow, because if you pay attention, look, there's like a glow, there's like a halo, not halo, but there's like a glow immediately around the bright spots. And then there is now that general diffused look that comes from using a pro mist. So with that in mind, I'm going to apply a glow first to really target the bright areas. And then after that, I'm now going to apply a pro mist effect that would just like give that overall diffusion to the whole image. All right. So first one here, I'm just going to search for glow. Just going to put that there. Instantly, almost instantly, you can see what's going on. All right, let me turn that off and on. Almost instantly, it's giving us that glow around the bright points, kind of like what's going on here. Of course, we can control that right about there. That seems to be nice. I think I'm digging a hole. I really want it to circle around there. So I'm going to touch the spread. You can see, just keep an eye on this. You can see it's really close. Just going to, so I don't want it too far around there. There we go. So now we can now dial that back in. Maybe that's too much. Right there. I might change it to, let's try that warm again. I don't know why I'm going for this warm. I think it just looks better with her particular image. I don't know. I could be wrong. that's that. And then, like I said, to now like blend everything together, this one I'm going to be using a plugin. There is a way to do like a promised effect within DaVinci Resolve. So I will put a link to a tutorial on how to do that in the comment section. So when you learn that, that should come at the end here. All right. But for this one, I'm just going to use a plugin by Magic Bullet Looks. All right. It's going to edit look. Just give it a minute to load up. All right. And now just going to come to the optical diffusion. All right. I'm going to select different promised. All right. Quarter. All right. Just turn that off and on. Very subtle, but it's there. Accept that. Just turn that off and on. Very subtle, but it's there. It's just giving that overall diffused feel to it. So this is where we started. This is the look of the show by default. This is not from camera. This is the look of the show. And this is us trying to emulate young African and famous. So if we take, look at that. Look at that. Look at that. And then to prove that this can actually apply in other images, I'm going to go ahead and try and get this to look something similar to this. First things first, we're just going to do a little bit of a white balance. The image is quite warm, so I'm just dialing it, dialing it, dialing it, dialing it. Keep your eye on the waveform. Once you start to see white, white is a perfect combination of red, green, and blue. So the more white you have in your image, the more true white you have in your image, which automatically means the more balanced your image is. All right, don't overdo it, yeah, so that your image is not now looking cold or anything like that. So I'm just going to pack this here for now. I can always come back and adjust it. So that's before and after I did. All right, so the next thing is to compress. In this case, we're also going to touch a bit on the exposure as well. I'm just going to call this compress. Like I said, if we were shooting with a log image, we would not need to compress. We'll just go straight into the contrast and make sure that the image is spread out as much as possible and not just in the lower, in the shadows or in the midtones alone. All right. So because we're working with a baked in look, again, that is why we're having to compress. So I'm just going to take the midtones and raise that up till about there. I can pack it there for now. Pull down on the highlights a little bit, just a little bit of the shadows, not too much. We don't want to ruin the image. Maybe pull that down a bit and pull the highlights down a bit. So we can pack this here for now. All right. Again, we'll keep this one in the middle to help preserve her skin tone. And then this we'll call our spread. And so we take our contrast and we begin to pull it out. Pull, pull, pull till about there. Let's pack it there for now. Let's come here and let's save our skin tone and our actress's face. All right, pull that down to somewhere there. Gonna come back to spread, and then rather than the contrast, we just push up on the gain just a little bit right there, and then we come to the shadows, switch over to log, and then just pull this down to barely touching. All right, there we go. We come back here and just preserve that just a little bit more. That's her skin now, just a little bit more. All right, so I think in terms of spread, the image is pretty spread now. Next up, saturation. We look at our vector scope. We are not doing bad. We're not doing bad. But her dress, her red dress, is very prominent in the image, which is why this red is here. But then we also have some other colors, like this sort of orange brown color that is there, but it's not coming out as much. Even that green at the back, if that's green, it's not coming out as much. So let's do that. Let's try and draw out that color. So come to our curves, come to our hue versus sat, and then we just find let's grab, yeah, let's use the candle. It's roughly the same. All right, right there, a bunch of the images there. Now, because we know that the skin tone falls somewhere around here, we don't want to push that too much. So just push that a bit to the end. This is the main one. Oh, this is the main one that we're raising. We're just trying to expand the range so that a little bit more of all these other ones would also be affected. All right. So now this is the main one. We're going to raise that up. Let's see what's happening. Now life is coming back. Now we have more saturation in the image right there. I think we can park it right there. Now I'm seeing an issue. An issue is coming up, and that is her skin. Her skin is now looking a bit green. Yeah, her skin is not green, but yellow. We don't want that. We do not want that. Not just like it, and it's because of her makeup. You can see her chest area is fine, but her face, and it's a makeup thing. So first things first, we're just going to isolate her face. Just mask it out. All right. Because that's the only thing we want to affect right now. Just go ahead and track that. There we go. And now let's use the color wrapper. There's this new color slice tool that targets the skin tone, but I don't know. I'm still new to using it, but it works like a charm, really. So just click this. There you go. It has highlighted. We have a good selection, but let's move it a bit to the left. Let's move it a bit to the right. I think either way is doing a good job. Yeah, either way is doing a good job. But anyway, the hue. So pay attention. Let me zoom in. Pay attention to her face. Pay attention to her skin. We're going to start pushing this way. Right about there. There you go. Before. See? That ugly yellow is out of there. Let me just dial this a bit back so that it's not too much. That ugly thing is no longer there. Woo! I just wanted to dial it a little bit down. There we go. I don't know. Now all I'm seeing is her face. All I'm seeing is her face. Okay, I think that works. Just needed to dial it a little bit. Just needed to dial it a little bit in. So that's before and after. All right. So I think we are actually at a good place in terms of saturation, but let's just, for the fun of it, let's just push the color boost and see how far. Just a little bit more. Just a tiny bit more. And a little bit. There we go. Before, after, before, after, before, after. The colors are popping. All right. And that looks good. And onto our last thing, so that we are not basically repeating ourselves. I'm just going to come here and take our glow from the last one. Just come here and slap that on. And then I'm just going to go ahead and copy our Pro Mist from the last one and just slap that there as well. So now we can fine tune. So turn off the Pro Mist. This is the glow. Turn it on and off. Yep, it's doing something. Let's over exaggerate it. No, that's too much. That's completely gone. Right about there. I think we can park it there for now. And then turn on the Pro Mist. There we go. It's very subtle, but it just adds that overall wash to it. Our image has definitely gotten a lot warmer. So let's come back to our white balance and just make it a bit cooler. Just dial it. Maybe let's go extreme. Nope, that's too much. Start dialing it back right about, oh no, sorry, right about here. I think that's good. This is without the white balance. This is with the white balance. Actually, I think we overdid it. Let's dial it back down a bit to 1.8. There we go. Now this is this. Look at that. Look at that. And this is before.
Haha! This is the look that we started with, and this is where we're at. I mean, that's good. I think if anything, I'm going to add some sharpening, and I'm going to put it before the filtration. So just add some bit of sharpening. I mean, it won't do so much in this image because this is not the final image, but yeah, just a bit of sharpening. Oh yeah, I should add some sharpening here as well, even though this image is already quite sharp. So just leave that at 48. And then for her, yeah, 47. I found anything beyond 47 turns out to be too much. In fact, comparing them, I think I can push in more contrast. Yeah, let's come back to our spread and let's push in even more contrast. There we go. Aha! Look at that. I think these two things can cut together in the same show. I could be wrong, but yeah.